very good evening to everybody from this side of the world. A very warm welcome to all of you for joining us for the workshop, a workshop which is very close to our heart because we are, on the onset of Slow Fashion Season 2022, an annual flagship campaign by Slow Fashion Movement, a campaign which talks a lot about reflecting on our consumption behavior, the way we are, our relationship with fashion. I think this workshop really resonates with the sense and the theme for this year's campaign, that is progress over perfection. So today we have Bhavna with us, who will be facilitating the workshop. Let me give you a heads up that we are recording this video, the workshop, and it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So yeah, I mean, may I just start with the introduction, Bhavna, because thank you so much, Bhavna, for joining us and stepping in for this workshop as a facilitator. Decluttering techniques. So yes, we have an expert here. Bhavna Virtual Fashion Lab REVASTRA, a platform for reduce, reuse, recycle living, a philosophy indeed. She is authoring a Penguin publication based on stories of old world earthy lifestyle practices inspired by ancient Indian wisdom for new age tidy living. Bhavna is also a fashion editor, artist, and a facilitator of fashion communication with some very prestigious institutions across the globe, like Pearl Academy, NIFT, Symbiosis Institute of Design, Goenka University, Ansal University. With qualification in fashion design and communication, Bhavna has previously served as a feature editor for fashion for FEMINA, which is worldwide media limited Times of India and BBC magazine, and other publications, of course, alongside brands and organizations. So thank you once again, Bhavna, for joining us to facilitate a very essential topic we need to talk about, as decluttering and how that affects us, psychologically. So over to you. And yes, I hope we all are ready with our paper and our pen. I'm very excited. Thank you, Bhavna.
Thank you so much, Pooja. You just kind of made me sound like it's so embarrassing. But having said that, thank you very much. It's great to have all of you here. And this is a subject which is so close to my heart. And I'm really looking forward to talking about it and having your inputs and your ideas. And it really, as I was telling Pooja, that it's nice to keep applying it, because theoretically it's different, but it's really hard to apply the concept of mindfulness and decluttering in your daily life when you're living in a very consumeristic society. And all of us face it. I mean, irrespective of where we are and what we do, for nationalities, race, religion, sex, whatever. So just like a quick thing, please feel free to keep popping in with questions, whatever you want to. And it would help if you have a pencil or a pen and a paper, just to kind of note whatever you feel is relevant. It's not like a very technical thing, and we are obviously on a limited thing. And as Pooja beautifully pointed out, it's not about perfection. It's just about our progress. And it could be really slow. For me, it's been terribly, terribly slow, given the fact that in the last few years, it's been very harrowing with a lot of stuff, personally, professionally, and it's not been an easy thing. And clothes, I've shared a very deep relationship with clothes. Just to kind of take on, I can see a lot of names here, but if whoever is comfortable sharing there to kick off this thingy little discussion. Clutter dilemma. It would be really nice if you just tell me. I can always pick two here. I'm not going to obviously talk about a lot given the time, but let's look at what is your dilemma. I mean, what do you think is the biggest dilemma or the crisis, when I say quote unquote, that you face with your wardrobes? Before I kick on, anybody would like to share any thoughts? Someone says just in case comments. Anybody who likes to say that, okay, I have a lot of villains, or I have a lot of, unused clothing, or I end up buying a lot. What is your biggest problem or challenge? Yeah, okay, Sarah. if that's okay. I should give some because if we use it again. Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing, definitely. So reuse. Anyone in terms of decluttering, any problems that we all end up facing, and they're quite common problems. They're not like, it's not rocket science, but at the same time, it's one of the hardest things to really go through. Uh,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think I have so much of emotional attachment with every clothes that I own.
yes, yes, nostalgia, right? I mean, that's a huge factor. Correct, correct. So yeah, coming back to that, and thanks, Oroshika, for pointing that out. And so I think nostalgia has been a biggest, at least for me, just talking about what I've been into, and it all started with that. And I'm an Indian, so we wear a lot of saris, a lot of us. I'm not saying pan India. So my biggest issue, yeah, I mean, that would be awesome if somebody wants to talk in between. Please feel free. It's an interactive thing. So yeah, my biggest issue has been my clutter with saris. And over the years, because of the cultural context we've had, and my mom who's started wearing saris, if anybody is, a couple of us are Indians here, we would know that they start pretty early, the previous generation. My mother started wearing when she was 15, and she's never worn anything beyond saris, and she's pushing 80 now. So it's been hard, and she's always collected saris, and that's been a part of her identity, and that's the only thing she's ever worn. For her college, she's been a professor of zoology, and that's what she's always worn. And over the years, people started giving saris because it's a part of Indian culture. You exchange saris, you give them as gifts. So I had a lot of them, irrespective of my mother's collection. So when my mother fell ill, I realized that there was so much excess, and I don't wear a sari every day. And so obviously I wasn't using, so it's 5.5 meters on average a sari. So you can imagine if you have 10, you have over 55 meters of, which is so sad. And we don't end up doing anything with them in the name of nostalgia, as Oroshika pointed out, because we are attached to them. So there is an emotion which is, and it can, extend into our jeans or tops or our skirts or any traditional garments, whichever culture, country you come from. I mean, emotion of human emotion is very similar. So, I mean, talking about that, I mean, that's where I started. My mother stopped wearing saris because she fell ill and she had surgeries. And then I actually physically counted my saris for the first time in my life, including my mother, and I had over 100. So, which means I had over 500 meters of cloth sitting in my wardrobe doing nothing, practically, in the name of nostalgia. That every time I pick it up, as a couple of you pointed out about guilt, fear, the strength, oh, it's out of fashion and it's not something I'd like to wear. And my mother is very old fashioned and all of that. And these were things which, and when I looked at it and I piled them up, it was a shock. I actually was in tears. I started crying, and it was an emotional moment for me because I was scared to give them away, because there's a sense of value attached to it, right? We also look at money, monetary value, we look at emotional value, we look at the spiritual value of something, and that's where this emotional journey through ReVastra started, where I started converting a lot of garments like this, which are very geometric. And saris had that. I started studying it and I started applying it, which was an emotional story for me. Coming back to guilt, I think that was very huge, and it stayed. Again, it's never been an easy journey. So from 100 plus, I'm down to 30 saris now. So I have a little over 30, which I wear regularly, and these are saris I buy. I have bought saris. I mean, obviously we end up buying. I mean, even though I take a pledge or I do something, I end up indulging, and I end up going and buying that sneakily one little thing because I love saris, and we end up doing that, and then we go into a spiraling guilt space, and it gets very difficult to get out of it. And when you look at it and you're like, oh no, we've done it again. And we've again clicked on that button or gone to an exhibition and picked up this piece because of greed, because of this. You feel it's a want when you feel it's a need when it's actually a want or a desire. What I did was this very interesting. So I called my mother Amma in Telugu, which is a language from the south of India, one of the Dravidian languages. And my grandmother was Amamma. Amma is mom's mother, right? So, and that's where my whole storytelling came. And I had this weaves and weaves of fabric. And I started converting a lot of them into kaftans, drop crotch pants and loose kind of throws or A-line dresses. And they really helped in wrap skirts and stoles. And they really helped me look at those saris very differently, because sometimes they look out of trend, as some of you pointed that out, right? They look nice, but you don't end up wearing them. You don't know what to wear it with. And you can't really match them with something from your wardrobe. And you also have the fear that if I wear something old, I'll be judged, right? I'll be looked at with a tag that, oh, I'm not stylish enough, or I'm not trendy enough, and I'm not good enough, that sort of a feeling. So a lot of this, I think I started reading psychology. Well, yes, Cynthia, it's not just a skill, because that's something which I enjoy doing. But having said that, it's been a challenge, because although I did my design and I started stitching and hand stitching, it was really tough because I couldn't sustain it. And even I would fall off the orbit very easily. I would do it a few times, and then I started employing these women. During COVID, that fizzled out. It's been a hard journey in the last few years, but then the process has been very close to my heart. And we just being in awareness of that process is every time I keep coming back to the hook of my amma or my mama, that, okay, that's what they did. And they worked from better than me, of course, from a space of enoughness. So they were okay with the cotton saris, scraped, crumpled, soft. They wouldn't dry clean it. So you're not really doing a lot of environmental, micro plastic particles or water wastage and all of that. They would just hand wash this out. Yes. So it's been hard, because sari is a very linear garment, right? So it's easy to think of it. But when it comes to structured or stitched garments, it becomes harder to imagine yourself. So there, the skill is not necessarily we need to have, or we should have and feel guilty of not having. I think the best way is to just take help from communities like ours, and we all have different skill sets, and it would be wonderful to share these ideas and come out with it. So and that was my kind of a thing. So how I did it is, first thing, I would request all of you, if you can take a few minutes and close your eyes. I can't see many of you, I can only see Pooja though. So you take 30 seconds to just close your eyes and imagine your wardrobe. I'm sure you will have different emotions coming out of it when you open. So you will have this caricaturish image of like a Tom and Jerry opening the wardrobe and the clothes piling on top of you. A lot of us have that issue sometimes when we don't fold them correctly, or we don't stock them or store them correctly. But if you don't, what is the primary emotion that you come with? That's what, when you open the, so I did it with my saris. I opened them and I stood there. I said there was a sense of sadness. That was my primary emotion. And there was a sense of nostalgia. There was a sense of, not letting go, that attachment, that, if I let go, I'll never get them back. Or this is something which is so much of value. It's thousands of rupees in an Indian INR thing, and I would probably give it away. So that is where the spiritual bearing, that why am I getting attached to something which actually needs to die, really? Unless it dies, you cannot close the loop, right? You cannot come back and revive it. Revival is all about death. And we're so scared of death. We're so scared of letting go. Till we don't let go, we don't die in that process, we won't live. It's a very simple process. And I had to let my saris down. I had to let them go through the process, and I had to grieve with them. And when I saw my mother, and I would go to her, she was in the hospital, and I would say that, would you wear? And she started hallucinating and talking about saris, because she was like, why have you put me in these clothes? She says, my students are going to laugh at me. And in Telugu, in the language we speak, my mother tongue. And she would say that I'm feeling sick, and the ants all over my body, and they're eating the clothes. And my sari is being eaten, which was a very emotional process for me, because I literally took a sari to the hospital. And I said, your saris are fine. They're fine, don't worry. And I then finally, when she was fine, I went up to her and I said, is it okay if I cut them? Cutting is also a very painful process. Can I cut those saris? So she says, yeah, do whatever you want. And when she was in that near-death experience so many times, she fell, she had surgeries. Now she's suffering with dementia. So now she's forgotten all about it. But that phase where she let go is when I realized, if she could, at such a fag end of her life, with so much attachment with saris, why am I not able to do the same? and that was such an emotional process. And the only way so there's this technique that I tried. If you can close your eyes and do that, and we will come back to it. I'll give you about 30 seconds. I'll probably just time you, and I just want you to tell me the emotions. I'll probably come back to this. Okay, is anybody okay with, you don't want to tell me, just type in the chat box an emotion that comes when you look at your own wardrobe. The primary emotion. Anybody would like to share anything?
Pride.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, someone who says overwhelming, Sarah. Yeah, thank you so much for that sharing. I mean, of course, there are no right or wrong answers. We all have those emotions. It's quite natural. For me, it was nostalgia and guilt. That was the two bits that came up. Okay. Okay, thank you, Cynthia. It's about representation or identity, right? You're not sure what you. It's amazing. Yeah, yeah. Any other emotion, which is, for me, from sadness, it's still, there is, now it's moved to lightness for me because I've done that process, right? So I won't say, yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Jininga, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That's so wonderful. Thank you. Yes. Yes, power. I mean, that's such an interesting aspect, and color and power. Yeah, identity. I mean, it's amazing the words that can come out. So on your paper and pen, if you could just note a few words down, whatever is close to your, whatever is relevant to you. I'd write probably from the past nostalgia, guilt, and sadness. Somebody looks at it as power, somebody looks at it as identity, meanness, or whatever. So you could just note a few single words down. That would really help. And then what I did, that was the first thing I did. So because I'm a writer, so it was easy for me to use my pen and paper constantly, and I have little journals and diaries all the time with me. So I would keep doing that. And also I tried KonMari's, you've heard of Marie Kondo's declutter techniques, right? So those were brilliant, and I did try them, but it was hard to dump everything in one go and physically do that for me. So I started doing it on paper. I would do a lot of these exercises on paper and, actually segregate and do this with the saris, and that really helped me. So there's one technique which I'll just give you a quick lowdown. It's called, this lady called, Dr. Flow. Sorry, right, okay. So there's a lady who's a PhD. She's a doctor, and she developed these techniques. She's a writer, and she developed this technique called, it's a process writing approach, and I teach writing in fashion and media as well. So I apply it with students and guide workshops with that. But I started applying this technique to my wardrobe, and that really helped me because there was a lot of clutter in my head, right? How to do it itself is a clutter because there's a lot of download from the internet, from books, and you have to be mindful and you have to be conscious, and the words that really come up, I've just figured. So when it comes to consciousness, circularity, sustainability, all these words are very nice, amazing, and it's important, but there's a lot of clutter as well in our heads. And my question went on, is the clutter causing my wardrobe or the wardrobe causing clutter in me? So it was a very symbiotic relationship that I shared. And when I started putting it on pen and paper, like a journaling, so I had a little journal for only my wardrobe, for my saris. And I started putting words that would overwhelm me. Identity, yes, these words came up, sorrow and sadness. And when I was going through the phase with my mother, there was a lot of nostalgia and sadness and grief and all of that. And then let go, it was hard. There was a sense of holding on. There was non-acceptance. And there was anger that why at myself, and guilt that why am I overbuying when I have so many saris and I'm still buying it. And I would literally bash myself for doing that. So there were words every time I would open the sari section of my wardrobe, and I would feel these emotions. So my issues have not been with my other sections of my clothing, because I was always quite limited in those choices, fortunately, but my issue was with the sari part of it. So it could be anything. You could probably just make 2 columns, the emotions of the words in the section and the categories. So you could write jeans, tops, the categories which you think are really affecting you and which need help, right? You're literally making note of it. That's the only way to do it. So this technique that I did, so it's called the madman, architect, carpenter, and judge. And the technique is, it's Dr. Flower's technique. And the technique goes that madman is a download. It's like literally, sorry to use the word, but it's like a vomit, right? You can't stop yourself. So it's brainstorming. You take a piece of paper and pen, as I said, and you write how many clothes do you have, literally count them. Like you say, okay, 10 tops, 25 pairs of jeans, 15 pairs, you put a number to the categories. And once you do that, you're actually looking at numbers, because it's not in your head anymore. The clutter has come to the paper. Right? So there is a categorization. You can create bubbles, you can create whatever. So I do things like this. I don't know if you can see, I create bubbles. I use sticky notes. If you're visual, if you are linear and you like words, you can do that. Your tabular formats, you can put them in notes, however, whatever works for you. So once I did that, it was just very important, and I realized that this is what, and I had stoles. In Hindi, there's a word called dupatta. Dupatta means the longer stoles that you use with the Indian wear, right? So those, or the stoles and the scarves. So scarves are smaller, stoles are in between, and the dupattas are the longer pieces of fabric, so which are 2.5 meters, which is like almost half the length of the sari. And so I had a lot of that. And then I had unused saris. So I said, why can't I cut the saris into making my dupattas and my stoles and scarves? Why couldn't I use the saris cut into half and use them as kaftans? Why am I still buying kaftans? Why can't I cut my saris? Geometricity played a role, and to make wrap skirts out of it. You could go to any tailor and get this stuff. This doesn't need a lot of measurements in it. So I stopped buying kaftans and stoles and scarves and wrap skirts, and at least those garments which I pulled out from the saris. So coming back to this technique, so madman is that where you're not thinking, you're just putting all the information that you have, what you have and what you want to do, completely down. Then you have the second technique, which is called the architect. Madman is somebody, it's from Mad Hatter's Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's. So you're not thinking, you're in that phase where you're in a very spiritual, enjoying kind of a space where you're not, you're just putting without guilt, without anything. Nobody is really watching. Nobody is looking at those numbers. And you don't have to share them with anybody, right? And you can just put them down. And that's your personal diary. And the second thing is architect. Architect is somebody who comes in with some thought, who looks at it from a bird's eye view and sees the larger picture. Right now you have all these bits and bobs written on your notes, on tabulated formats, for tabular things or wherever. Yeah, so we could do with t-shirts or pants, so which could be anything. First, you put the categories: t-shirt, pant. You could do, saris, or if it's an Indian wear, and if you have other kinds of clothing in your wardrobe from a silhouette point of view or shape point of view, put that down. And then you look at it like an architect, like look at it and say, okay, what is it that I can do with this information, right? There's data from my wardrobe. There's emotion, and there's numbers. So there is qualitative and there's quantitative, right? We've divided a wardrobe into two segments. And that helped me because the qualitative part is the emotions that are coming out of it. So I put that into one column. And the quantitative is the number, where actually I say that this is what it is. And I have 25 stores, and I have 2 pairs of jeans, and I have 15 pairs of blouses, and 5 shirts, and probably 4 drawstring pants. And for me, I had 100 plus saris, which was like that. And I literally like shocked the living daylights out of me. And so it could be anything for you. So architect does that, where you step back and look at them. Then you try to see the patterns. The carpenter, yes, thank you, Cynthia, for sharing. That's, sometimes when you share it, that is a spiritual exercise. It's like in therapy. When it's out of your system, you actually feel lighter and you feel, I shared that. That guilt is out of my thing, So 100 plus, initially I was like very overwhelmed and guilty. And then when I actually start telling people in workshops like this that I had 100, and the guilt started coming down. The degree of it was a 10, and then it would come down to like a 4, and then 3, and now it's 0 guilt. But the guilt is still there that when I do, that little bit of that sliver of guilt just comes back into me. And that's human, I think. I can't obviously become like a spiritually evolved soul and forget all about it. So yeah, so you can remember this as MACJ, right? So MACJ. So madman, architect, carpenter. Then the carpenter comes in, he starts nailing the stuff or the ideas into place. Like after the architect has looked at it from a distance, the carpenter comes in closer and sees it closer and says that, okay, this is one chunk, this is one chunk, and this is one chunk. Can I club these? Can I use these together? So you will start noticing patterns in your own clothing, quantitative clothing analysis of your wardrobe. And that's where the architect's job is. And then the judge is the one who actually, in writing, this is the editing process, which is the final process. Madman is where you pour all your ideas out. Carpenters, you chunk them into paragraphs. The architect, the carpenter is the one who nails the ideas and puts signposting language and puts this through into a flow or a thread. And then the last is the judge who step back. You can take a break. You don't have to do this overnight. You could do this whenever you feel like. And then you step back and you say, okay, these are garments I could do. You still are not touching your wardrobe. You still haven't gone physically, because that's when you feel overwhelmed. Because when you physically take the clothes out, you're actually putting the weight of the clothes on your body around you. So you feel really overwhelmed and you stop the exercise. Every time I would take the saris out and put them on the bed, I would sit like this. And there was a sense of heaviness. And I would sit and stare at the saris and I would be like, I can't do this. I can't segregate it. I cannot do it. And that can't, would, and then I can put them back in the cupboard. So this kept happening for a while till I actually did this exercise as a prequel to my actual to-do. And when I did it, there was a sense of lightness and clarity and declutter, as we think of, right? My head is decluttered, it's planned, and now I know. Then I put timelines to do what, when, where. Right? I can take 6 months, I can take 6 years. It took me over 6 years of the sari story. Right? I started doing it around 2015 or so. And yeah, over 6-7 years. In the Vedic philosophy, you would see the 7-year cycles or the 14-year cycles. It almost took me one whole cycle to get this out of my system and apply it to my life. And I'm still struggling with it. The next cycle has begun. So this is a technique which I'm very, it's close to my heart. It really helps. And that's something which I keep doing it. And again, it doesn't end with once, right? This is something we could keep going back to at a time. And then you put timelines that maybe I'll do this on pre-Christmas, and I'll probably do this on us. It's not spring cleaning. Spring cleaning is a one-time effort. This cannot be. Yeah, I can see. Yes, it can be very overwhelming, Susie. I completely hear you. And it is. And that's the reason, yeah, as Sarah beautifully put it, it's progress over perfection. And we don't have to perfect. So initially, be it my own healing through therapy or my own psychological issues or my own wardrobe, everything was so interconnected in the larger scheme of things that I actually started taking healing as a big job to do. And I would try to perfect it. I would be like, okay, there are 5 things. I need to do my yoga, I need to do my kriya, I need to do my breathing, I need to do my Reiki, I need to do this, and I need to journal, I need to do my art, I need to do stitching. And by the end of the day, I was like, okay, I haven't done even one. And I failed, right? This is a sense of failure. And then the therapist like, listen, don't take it as a task. And this wardrobe exercise became a part of that. And I said, okay, maybe I just let it go. It doesn't matter. Every time I look at it and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Sorry, go back. Shut it, go back. I kept doing that. So I think till a time as I kept sharing and talking small bits and bits and bits, they just kept adding and adding and adding till I've come to a space of 30 now, which I feel very proud of. As Oroshika said, there's a sense of pride. I'm really proud of that heritage that I have, those weaves that I love, not just weaves. So the saris that people gave me as gifts, I actually gave them away, irrespective of thinking about the price. In India, we have an army of domestic helps, right? You have people who work for you and with you. It's fortunate and unfortunate. But so they come from a class of where they can't buy saris, but they wear saris, right? So it's very easy for us to give them away. But if you cannot give them away, platforms like this where we actually do the 5 hours of reduce, reuse, or rewear, then you have recycle, repair, and resell with the slow fashion season. You can just see what can be done. And these pods you can start putting, maybe 4 pants, repair. Just put notes. You're just making notes basically. And you're not doing it. It's fine. The more you try to perfect it and do it correctly and do it in those timelines, it is overwhelming. I think just give up. I think my only suggestion is give it up and it'll happen. Because you're just doing one thing at a time. I repaired only one thing at a time. It's like doing only one sari. Okay, then 6 months I didn't do anything. And I said, okay, come back to a tone pair of pants. And I put a patch on it. I said, oh, that's 1 down. That's great. That's amazing. Or 1 up, I'd say. So either ways, it was an exciting exercise because at least I was feeling a sense of achievement. And I would look back into my wardrobe and say, okay, this, and I started putting them into those segments, right? So I segregated my wardrobe saying, what are the ones I did? So repair, reuse, donate, I put them in sections. Yes, we could do that. Yes, absolutely. It could be anything. So I'm sure internet has tons and thousands of ideas, and depending on the geography you're and the space you are living in, you can look at options. And this is something, and I really liked why the spirituality of it is important is when we actually look at it in 3 angles, is the basics of need, want, and desire. So we don't have to become austere. Austerity comes from a space of, can come from a space of scarcity. And a monk can be austere because he's given up 100%. I'm not a monk. I have a son. I have a life to live. I live in a beautiful house and I like it. I don't think I should be guilty about that. But having said that, the pressure is I want to become austere. We cannot. We can be a minimalist, but we cannot become an austere monk at the end of the day, unless I go to the Himalayas and say, okay, fine, just give up everything. I cannot give it up. It's very clear. I cannot. So I cannot give up my clothing. It's a part of my identity. It's part of my culture. It's part of who I am and what I love wearing what. So it was just clear definitions of what I was liking, what I was doing, and KonMari's method of joy and Dr. Flower's method of writing. It was a combination for me. And as I kept doing it, I think the spiritual side of me, because I was also doing yoga, I was also doing, I know that Oroshika here does, she's a yoga teacher. And so she's somebody who can, you can take help of psychologists or yoga teachers or spiritual guides to help you with this. Why not? And that would be an amazing way to go. And so there is this very interesting, I put a note. So there's the 2 psychologists called Hajo Adam and Adam D. Gallens in New York and in Bath. So they came up with something called enclothed cognition, right? And yeah, sorry, I'm trying to read. Yeah, I mean, I'll come to that, Nancy, and that's something which I'm still struggling with. Having said that, it's better. So yeah, so this enclothed cognition is about your own understanding and drawing the triangle between identity, persona, and image. Identity is who you are, id from Latin, self. And persona is what you project yourself to be. right? And the third one is the image, what others see you as. And if these three as a 3-point triangle is connected, is when you feel whole, when you feel complete. And that's when your spiritual need becomes more contained. And usually there is, if you see celebrities, what they project, the image is where the PR comes in. Like there usually is celebrity punishment and clothing and the fashion and all of that comes in there. Persona is what you want to project. So so make notes on that and see if your clothing is giving that, what somebody mentioned about identity and the meanness. Is it your identity? I mean, now I don't shy away from wearing a sari even in international events because I'm like, fine, if you, it's okay. I'm culturally, this is what it is. Nothing to do with, religion or, nationality or nationalism rather, or patriotism. It's just about a sense of pride and feel good. Yeah, so I have coming back to how do you ensure that you don't fill up the space? Well, you have enough in that. If you empty it, you will fill it up. If you have gaps, people try to fill it up again. So don't make zero jeans or don't go down to scarcity. Work from a space of abundance. And if you have enough, not more, not less, is when you'll feel, okay, I have enough. 3 jeans are enough for me, or 4 jeans are enough for me. And then we will not fill up. But if we cut it out of your system, like surgically, and say that I will not have jeans, I will not buy at all. So the pledge is good because it is a shorter window. I think slow fashion season, that's what I love about it, is the fact that it tells you for 30 days. It's a doability. I'm not promising myself like next 5 years of not buying. I'm just saying 30 days. Okay, let's do it 3 days, 1 week, 30 days, that progress. It's fine. Let's just do that. And at that part is coming back to the enclosed cognition helped me because I was like, okay, who am I? Am I trying to really project this fashion person who wants to be perfect and who wants to be, who wants to be the idealist and who wants to do it herself? But listen, I'm failing. Okay, and every single day I fail, and it's terrible. But the fact that I'm trying to own up to it, and I am just saying that it's okay to fail. Yeah. Okay, that's a very relative, Nancy, thank you for pointing that out. The maximum number of items per category, now that's something which is very relative because probably you go to office and you need more pants and suit dresses or suit jackets versus probably you would need more kaftans, right? So that's a number you could do on paper. These are calculations almost, the quantitative and the qualitative calculations. You would actually physically do it on paper and see if that helps. Sometimes like how I don't have to wear formal clothing coming from a media and a design and all that. So I don't need to have those formal structured suit, jackets and pants and all of that. So loose geometric clothing or these kind of, so I have this is my white dress, which I wear with a lot of stuff, right? So I multitask the dresses and I multi-use them. And I can wear this with a black throw. I can just wear it sleeveless if I'm on a beach, and I can just put this on as a thing. And, I could do whatever. So I think more pods rather than think very linearly as ensembles. And some are ensembles. There's nothing wrong with it because if I like that particular thing with that, it's fine. And like for me with saris, I let go of petticoats because saris have a blouse, petticoat, and a sari, right? So I let go of petticoats. I started knotting the saris, which is an ancient way of wearing saris. And I moved to cotton saris where the synthetics or the free-flowing saris are difficult to knot and stay on your body. They just slip off. So if cotton is easy to knot. And so I moved depending on what is my comfort zone, but everybody can't do that. Everybody cannot, there's no, it's not like a one thing fit for all. And probably, Susie's would be different, and Nancy, yours would be different, Sarah's, Anna's, Emma's, everybody's story would be different. And it's like a fingerprint. And I cannot tell you what to do. And nobody can. It's just that exercise. And another thing that really helped me when it comes to this is in a day, I actually sit quietly with my eyes closed and I visualize my wardrobe. That really helped me. And when I visualize it, I think that, okay, what am I wearing today? Can I not do this? Sometimes when I look at it, I'm like, does this dress sometimes need, this shirt needs a pair of pants. And I go on a whim, go buy a pair of pants. I would do that. But now I step back and I'm like, okay, I'll stop, take a deep breath, visualize. That shirt can go with probably the gray pants I have and not the black one that I really want, that I don't need it. The need is the gray, the black is a want or a desire. So it's very tough. And there are times I just go and pick up something. And if you feel incomplete, just do it. Yeah, mix and match is a great idea, Novice. The other one that somebody mentioned, capsule wardrobes. Well, that's something, if it works for you, why not? I mean, but it's all about what works in your space and your consciousness. And if you feel good about it, if you feel calmer, when you feel expanded, not restricted, the fundamental thing is about expansion. Be it wearing the clothes physically or feeling the clothes emotionally, or actually storing the clothes, there is expansion. Your wardrobe could be just about 2 feet, or it could be like an entire room, but you need to feel expansive of that, not restricted or not guilty. So I think those are the fundamental aspects of circularity and all of that. Just the last bit is maybe the question every time we ask ourselves, and I started doing it like how in Psychology of Fashion, Carolyn Mayer talked about color, and she talked about, how when we are upset, I love grays and I love blacks, but in an Indian context, many times we don't wear blacks for weddings. And white is strangely, the cultural identity of white is death in India, strangely, right? We wear white for funerals. Whereas in the Western, a lot of religious cultures, it's black is for death. And so we just need to be a little aware of what makes you feel, like she said, power, right? Red is power. And if you feel, so with the chakra systems I worked and I love wearing, so I started wearing a lot of white because I just feel that I can mix and match a lot, monochromes and singular colors and a lot of that. And then, of course, when Indian garments are very, very bright, right? Traditionally, we are used to seeing very bright colors. But I started toning it down because the more, the brighter, it's not that I don't have brights. I use brights as accents more than, using the entire thing, which for me was limiting because I couldn't wear it somewhere else. Like a sunny yellow dress, I couldn't possibly wear to a formal meeting. And I would not, because I'm very happy, I'm very cheerful in a sunny yellow dress. And in a meeting, probably I need to be a little thoughtful. So that's something which I feel. Somebody you'd like a sunny yellow dress to a meeting, why not? And if you know your mind, your decluttered mind is when your wardrobe will be so. Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant, Cynthia, absolutely. And so it could be the other way around as well for someone else, right? I mean, she has a lot of white tops which she mixes and matches. So I have a lot of these white things and throws which are colorful for me, or stoles which are colorful. So it's your identity, it's what you feel good. Where do you want the color on your body, right? So that part will only come in silence and in your reflective silence and in your emotion, as in you're okay with the sadness, you're okay with grief, you're okay with guilt, you're okay with. So there's a lot of therapy we need to work on and then move on to actually decluttering our wardrobes. So is your mind causing the declutter, or is the wardrobe causing your mind to declutter? So whenever I clean up, I feel good, right? I mean, that's human psychology. We end up cleaning our space and we feel tidy. So my book is all about that. There are a couple of things I'm talking about, from flow to freedom and things like that. And it really helps me reach a space of consciousness. Spirituality is not necessarily about prayer and about religion or about all of that. And clothing is just an extension of that energy. How I feel. Earlier, I wouldn't wear pink for the longest time because I would feel, oh, it's too girly. And now suddenly I like pink. And I have no idea why. And suddenly maybe I'm in touch with my feminine energy. I have no idea. And so it's funny, yes, Orishika is laughing, but it's funny. And now I'm like, okay, I like a pink lipstick and I like pink nails and I like a pink thing. So it could change. There's no rules to this. And your try applying that MACJ thing. I think my suggestion would be to have a diary for your clothes, for your decluttering journey. It could take 1 year, it could take 2 years. Don't pressurize yourself. Just sign up for these things that can at least help you have communities that really work well. And the thing is about circularity, and every time you're closing the loop, be ready to die. If you're ready to die in yourself and your clothing, I think we let go of that. And the fear of death, the fear of loss is what doesn't let you grow. So we just need to die, because if I can't transform without death. So my clothes have to die. My clothes have to go. And that awareness is a very emotional awareness for me. When I saw my mother literally going off and coming back, and now she's mentally not in a space to understand. And every time I look at her and I'm like, why do I do this? I think look around, and maybe that could help you in some emotional stories. And be it the capsule wardrobes, or be it mix and match, or be it your stories, but just put it on pen and paper every time. Come back to your qualitative and quantitative analysis, literally. And you don't have to just open your wardrobe and keep standing there for 5 minutes. It's okay. Just breathe, and it's okay. And forgive yourself. I think we all end up making mistakes. And 30 days for this month, if you don't buy and come back to decluttering, and your mind is where we will start decluttering the wardrobe. And then the wardrobe will help us declutter our mind. It is a very cyclical, spiritual, cyclical, circular journey. And it's a very emotive journey. That's what I'd say. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please just shoot out.
Thank you so much, Bhavana. This workshop was definitely very intriguing. I guess we all love listening to your tales and stories about sari, and we can definitely resonate that with our own wardrobe and our piece of clothes. We may not have sari, many of us over here, but then, our relationship with our clothes is something. I think, fashion is all about the art and the science. It's a beautiful tool to communicate. And few tips that you actually shared about journaling for clothing, about letting go of some clothes that we have. I think that's brilliant. I would actually say that, this definitely is going to stay with us with some questions in our mind, which our audience asked. Thank you everybody for joining in. As Bhavana just mentioned that we need to sign up. We just think of signing up for pledges like Slow Fashion Season 2022, just to reflect and introspect about, our purchasing behavior. But I personally think, even stats say that, it takes 21 days to, get into a habit. And I think 30 days is enough. But having said so, while you do sign up to pledge for the 30 days, not buying any new clothes, I would suggest that slow fashion movement really wants to incorporate the thought that, how about slow fashion living? So please feel free to continue with your pledge even after 30 days. And one question which, I just got asked on DM is that, if you can still sign up. Yes, you can sign up for the pledge anytime, even on the 30th of September, you can sign up. The reason why we have this duration is because we want the whole community to come together and sign up and celebrate slow and sustainable fashion. But irrespective of the date, please feel free to sign up. I think we have already shared the link on the chat. So yeah, I will quickly ask, I think there are a few questions which came up, which I did realize that Bhavana had, answered those questions simultaneously alongside the workshop facilitation. But I'll still maybe mention, if you have anything to add on, Bhavana, please feel free to do so. So one of the questions which came was that after decluttering, how do we ensure that you don't fill up that space that has been created by more clothes and, accessories and shoes? And I think this question definitely is so important because, only when we organize things look cleaner, we realize, oh my gosh, there's so much space already. And then our minds start going back to the consumer view. Oh, I do have scope to buy a few more things. So please tell us, what do you think about this question?
As I said, don't empty. Whenever my glass is empty, I'll fill it up with water, right? Spiritually. It's very normal and it's practical. So if I empty my wardrobe, I'll feel the desire. It's like if I stop having chocolate, I'll have a craving for it. So stopping something is not a solution. Stopping periodically and refraining, or you are holding up. Like these pledges will help you hold your space for a bit. That's a good thing. And it's amazing because if I say I will never buy, never is never. I mean, it's never a word. And it's not sustainable. I cannot say I'll never buy clothes. I'll just have to make conscious choices. So I'll probably just buy clothes which are closer to my identity, or buy it at a time where there's a need, not a want or a desire. Then you don't fill up. So and coming yeah, so that's a big thing. I think for me, I think not working from a space of scarcity and refrain, and it's just timing yourself rather than saying that I will not do it. It's telling a child don't do it and the child will do it. We all are children at heart, and we will end up going to a shop and saying, oh, I'm not going to buy, oh, forget it, just let's just go.
Thank you, Bhavna.
Yes.
I think
Thank you,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you. I think we all, each one of us in this room, have our own unique journey with, our relationship with fashion. And I do know that there are people who love colors, and then there are people who love pastels and neutrals. But nothing can beat organizing your wardrobe, and at least once in your lifetime, every one of us try to incorporate the capsule wardrobe. So a question actually happened: how do we create capsule wardrobe? Would you like to briefly share that? If there's somebody, a person who have no idea about it, how do we do that? Because I think it is a great sustainable practice to have a capsule wardrobe. So yeah.
Capsule, as it says, it's a contained thing. I mean, it contains, like a capsule contains the potency of the medicine in the smallest size, right? And that is the power of a wardrobe. So capsule wardrobe is a very relative thing in terms of the fact that you make it a lean wardrobe, and you really say that 5 pairs of jeans, I need 5 shirts, and I need 10 scarves to mix and match. And so again, color, silhouette. So if any of you have the time and the energy, if you could just Google the principles and the elements of design. So elements are about 10 to 12 of them. We apply them using the principles of design. So thank you, Gabrielle. So yeah, so if we can do that, so form, texture, so we can play around with that. But the number is something we could just put it down. So capsule wardrobe helps you contain your needs based on your environment, on your work, on a lot of other psychological, physiological, ergonomic, your environmental factors, and also affordability, economics. So so we cannot possibly have or sometimes instead of having 10 trousers, we just end up buying 3 good expensive ones, which will actually equate it out. So that is, capsule wardrobe is all about planning, all about putting it in a very contained space, place, and money, all the resources. Right? I don't know if I'm making sense, but you'll get a lot of information on capsule wardrobes from tons of stylists who are brilliantly doing well in their zones, in your ecosystem as well. So that, and you could do your own thing. It's not something that anybody can tell you. You could just build it up. But my only suggestion would to have a notebook to keep penning it down all the time. That is a very decluttering technique.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. I think the 13 to 30 formula really works for me when it comes to capsule wardrobe. So I would like to add on to what Bhavna said, that 30 pieces for 30 days. I think that's amazing. And another thing which I normally do is trying to calculate my remember and journal how many times I've worn a particular piece of garment. Many times is even less. I mean, we can do much more than that. The next question actually is that do you think do you keep things hoping they will be in trend? Because I think when we talk of fashion, there are so many of us who would love to stay in trend, in fad. So when it's about having a particular piece of garment which we've not worn for a really long time, which you would probably suggest that we could kind of get rid of it, I would suggest let's upcycle it. Maybe a t-shirt could become a tote bag, or a trouser could become a shorts. But what do you want to say about that? How to handle the regret of giving away something that might?
So see, trend is again a very relative term. So if you look at a life cycle of fashion clothing, it's actually like if you draw a graph like that, and you draw it's called the birth, the rise, the plateau, and the death, right? So from death, again, the birth starts. So you have these, waves like that. So if you join a wave back, it's actually circular, right? So it actually begins from the same point. So a trend which, according to fashion history and experts, every 2 decades earlier the trend would go. Now, because of the digitized in the last 20 years of digital revolution and our world that we are so digitized, and with now the metaverse coming in or AI coming in, on all of that coming in, our cyclical moments are very short. Our visual fatigue is very high. Our need to change is very high. So if you feel that there is a white shirt you love and you've given it away, right? You've given it away. There's nothing you can do anything about it, right? And the fear, once you've given, there's nothing you can do, that acceptance. And if you fear before giving, then maybe think of 10 ways of wearing it differently and optimizing it. So the 5 rules of reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, resell, try to apply all of that to that, and which is the best possible thing you can do with the white shirt. And that's something which only you would know. And identify those 10 pieces in your wardrobe, which if out of on a scale of 1 to 10, if this white shirt stands on a scale of 7 or 8, I will not give it away. I'll keep it and I'll recycle, I'll reuse, I will restyle, I will probably swap, and I will rent it out. I could do tens of millions things with it. But if it is below 5 emotionally, it's okay. I mean, regret something, as I said, the death of it is important. I'll probably at some point after 3 years buy a better white shirt. And trend is again very relative. I mean, vintage is back and everything is back. It depends on how you wear it. I can wear the white shirt with a sari and I can wear it with, over a pair of jeans, and just think of different ways to do it. And I'm sure it'll help you churn up your creative ideas better. I don't know if I've answered your question. It's quite relative. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was a good, kind of the way to handle the stress and the regret to let go. With that, we come to an end to this amazing workshop that we had today. Thank you, everybody who joined in. I just saw in the chat that we have somebody who is 77 and she's about to start her diploma in fashion designing. And let me tell you that it is amazing. This really shows your love for fashion. Learning and unlearning, upskilling is something not at all related with age. So, I mean, let's not talk about ageism at all. And especially when we are talking about fashion, I mean, that's a beautiful bit of fashion that, irrespective of where are we, which part of the world we are from, what do we do in our life, our relationship with our clothes is definitely very, very profound. It's just a second skin. So yes, let's keep celebrating fashion in our own beautiful ways. Thank you everyone for joining in. Just a very gentle reminder that please do sign up for the pledge for 30 days for not buying any new clothes. But do remember, you can always swap clothes. You can always borrow clothes. You can always upcycle your style, restyle, rewear your clothes that you have, because these 30 days are great, opportunity for us to reflect on our relationship with our clothes. As mentioned earlier, we have recorded this workshop and we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel. So please do follow the link that we just shared on our chat to like and subscribe. I mean, basically subscribe first and keep a tab for all the workshops, because this is just the beginning of this amazing season. We have multiple workshops coming our way. And we would love to hear from you. So do feel free to comment and share your feedback and your experience with the workshops. That will always help us learn and get better. Thank you, everybody. We'll just take a few moments because it's just on the chat if you'd like to go to the link. Bhavna, few words to end the workshop today. I mean, because I would not like to say end the workshop, because when we learn something, it's not the end at all. It's a beginning of a beautiful journey as decluttering as we talk.
Yes, thank you so much. So nobody can tell you how to declutter. We are always looking outward. The only way is to kind of look at ourselves and just start the process. That's it. And forgive yourself for sitting on it as well. It's okay. I understand it's not easy, and I've had a hard journey and I still am struggling with it. So yeah, so be it the book that I'm writing, or be it my wardrobe, or be it my personal journeys, everything has been as easy as hard. So thank you all of you for taking the time out for attending this, and may all of us keep journaling our way through our wardrobe decluttering, so that it really helps us declutter our minds and vice versa, and that's where the spirituality of it comes in. Thank you. And Susie, we'll really look forward to your beautiful ideas, and your age definitely will add a beautiful dimension to learning. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you. Goodbye.
Thank you all for joining us. Have a great day, evening, night.
Bye. Bye.